What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the DX Gamer Show. My name is Mike, aka Operation DX, and fellow Kerbal Knots, welcome to episode 17. During the previous episode, I got so cut happy, I forgot to show some details I think is important to show in this series. You know, unlocking technologies, rather important. So I did, after I did the whole Minmus mission, I had about 1900 science. You can see there, 1923.1, and I unlocked two technologies, one power technology and the mainsail, like I said I was going to. And I totally cut that out and didn't show it, which is no good. And I think the episode was a little short. Like this one is going to be a little, it's going to be a little short, I'm sorry. This is not going to be a full, like 15, 16 minutes. Anyways, back in the tech tree during this episode, and unlocking some more technologies. So I went further down the power tree to get the fuel cell and the big battery that gives you 4,000 power. And then I kind of wanted the round mono propellant tank. I didn't really care about the SAS stuff. And I don't know if there's something else. Oh yeah, the orange tanks. I wanted the orange tanks, so I could make things a little more efficient, a little cheaper. Because if you notice, if you build like two gray tanks that equal the same amount of fuel as an orange tank, it actually costs more, so it's more efficient to have the bigger tanks. So here she is, my precious, my precious. Yes, this is my mining rig. I'm sorry that lately I haven't been showing my builds, but like I've been spending some time with them, balancing them out and all that good stuff. This thing is a frickin' beast, weighs 43 tons up top. This thing has 4 drills, 4 large solar panels, 4 large fuel cells. It is a power-hungry, ore-producing beast of a ship. Unfortunately, it's kind of untested. Sure, it can launch and get into orbit and get to the moon and all that good stuff, but what I was kind of thinking for this craft was I want to relaunch it up into orbit and have a station up there, and then it was gonna like fill up the station with fuel. So I don't know how that's going to work out, because I know that the ship is going to eat quite a bit of fuel getting back up into orbit. So I'm kind of hoping that the ore that I mine that is on board the ship will be able to like refuel the ship, and then I can keep pumping fuel into the station kind of thing, and then just save enough fuel so that I can land back down at the moon and mine some more ore. That's kind of the idea. But I have no idea how long this is going to take, but I'm so excited about it. I'm so happy about it. But yeah, this thing's a beast, and I love it. I was so looking forward to this part of the game, and I'm finally here and doing stuff. So this is, in fact, a unmanned craft, and you actually can't see the command pod. It's actually hidden between the 2 batteries on the top, the little probe core. I used the little gizmos to kind of crunch it in between so you couldn't see it, which may have been a mistake, because now it is permanently going to look like a probe, and I wanted it to look like a lander, but that's not important. It's no big deal, but I just got to pay attention to that for the future. So here we are, pretty much getting ourselves set up in the orbit of the moon, because we just did the scan during the previous episode. And I got some suggestions, which I did take to heart. You'll see that in just a little bit here, as soon as we get into the orbit of the moon. Although it took quite a bit of cash to be able to build a setup to get this thing to the moon. I mean, this thing cost around 240,000 credits, and this is not a mission that has been asked for me to do. And in the contracts, they probably are going to ask me to do these things, but I'm doing them on my own, which is kind of silly. So during the next episode, I'm going to have to complete the Ike contract and set up the base on Ike. And then I'm going to have to start looking at the contracts again, because I'm starting to do too much stuff on my own. It's starting to cost too much money, and I don't want to bankrupt myself, which I can totally do. But I'm too excited about this aspect of the game. I just had to like get it all done. So here we are on the final approach of the moon, and I just need to once again burn retrograde, put myself in an equatorial orbit, and I'm going to pretty much land down in the closest hotspot. I'm pretty sure that I saw one during the previous episode. There was a good one in the equatorial orbit. I'm probably going to have to do just a slight plane change. No big deal. This thing doesn't have a ton of fuel, but it has enough to do what it needs to do, land down and all that. So she is about ready. The last engine there before the landing engines has a little bit of fuel left, so I can just use that to burn down. So here we go. This is what I think is fantastic. This is freaking fantastic. So I don't have to go over to my probe to get this information. All I have to do is double click on the moon and then like look at the information that I already got. So I like this particular like setup where you got the heat map kind of thing going on. And one of the suggestions in the comments in the previous episode was to push it up to about 60% so you can see where the larger percentage of the ore is. But I figured, you know, the red hot spots are probably the highest concentration of the ore, so that's pretty much the locations that I was going to land down. Looks like I have like a orange location on the other side of this crater. I think there's another red in the equatorial like zone. So if this isn't enough, if it doesn't produce enough when I get this thing back in orbit and set up in the station and start pumping fuel, I will set down a couple of these on the moon. Of course, the moon will become a launch platform for interplanetary missions, and I think that it's so cool. It adds that like critical gameplay that I'm always seeking. And if you've watched my other series, like I usually burn out really quickly because purpose goes out the window. There's like no reason to be doing things that I'm doing, so like I lose interest and stop playing. But here we have, you know, still stuff to unlock, some contracts to do, some money to make, and I love it. I love it. So there's probably going to be, you know, a good chunk of episodes still coming up. So here we are, landing down this absolute beast. So the outer, I put 2 LV909s in the outer engines, and there's no fuel in them. They're pretty much sucking fuel from that center tank. I didn't know what it would require to get a 43-ton vehicle on the moon, you know, what kind of Delta V I was in. So this was like totally experimental. I didn't know if this was going to be like a total crash and burn kind of situation, which would have been awful because this vehicle is super expensive. I actually went through 2 different design variations for my mining craft. The first one, it had too many parts. It was making my computer lag, and it had only two drills on it. This is actually a smaller build. It's more efficient. It's more power generation, and yeah, it works out. So I didn't want to quite land on the edge of that crater there where I'm coming down, because I know there's like a slope usually on the end of a crater. So just kind of pushing my craft over a little bit to find a nice and relatively flat place to land down, which is important. And I just, like always, take it real easy on my approach and landing. Here, I can really afford to be picky, because even though it appears that I've got about a quarter tank left, I'm about to do some mining. Yeah! So I'm pretty excited about that. So I can be picky and start converting. I don't know how efficient these things are. So it could take, a really long time, but I don't care. I don't care, because I'm mining and I'm making fuel, and that is something that definitely makes me happy. All right, so landed down nice and safe, a little bit on the slope, no big deal. We can just leave the SAS on because there is a probe core in the sky. There's no Kerbals getting out. Oh yeah, and then we have the little scanner on the bottom, which I guess gives you a percentage. And I guess it can go up to like 10%. So we hit like the jackpot almost. This is like a 7% spot here. So we're going to be, mining relatively efficiently. Not super, I guess. And then I know that there is a bonus that you can get if you have a engineer on board that has experience. You can get a little more out of your drills. I don't know if you can get more out of your ISRU unit. I don't know how that goes. I assume this is all going to go slowly. This is my hope. I still haven't tested this. My hope is when I start mining fuel, if this takes a really long time, I can go do other stuff and then come back to this thing, and then it'll be all filled up, and then I can go ahead and do the missions that I want to do. I don't want to have to sit here and watch this thing and babysit it. That's like my biggest complaint. That was my complaint about Kethane. That was my complaint about the MKS OKS mod. I hate having to sit on things that take a long time because there's other things you can be doing, and you know, of course, you can just speed up time and all that. But if you have contracts, that can just mess everything up and whatever. So we're drilling. We have a lot of power with those 4 big solar panels, but we do need to get the fuel cells up too, because this thing eventually is going to go into the dark side, and we need something that just produces a massive amount of power. So the big solar panels give you like 24.4 power per second each. Not bad. And then the fuel cells, they eat some liquid fuel and oxidizer, just a small amount, and they produce like 18 power per second or something like that. So theoretically, this thing should be able to run full tilt in the night, in the day, and just keep going and going and going and going. And that is the idea. And that's why I kind of redesigned this from my original design. I could show you my original design, but yeah, just kind of went with a different thing. I think it looks cool with the tanks. And yeah. Anyways, I am back at the launch center here, and I have my flags unchecked for some reason. I was always wondering why I couldn't see my flags as I'm flying around. And so during this episode, I make sure I just check that. I could check the debris. There's all kinds of debris. I've left debris everywhere. I don't think I need to keep that on. But there's like that oddball chance that I could actually run into it on a particular mission. Looks like there's probably some contracts going on that have certain types of missions, because I see like these little blue circles. So I assume that I have to put something in that specific orbit. I don't know. I haven't checked the contracts in a while. But here is all of my stuff. And unfortunately, this is a short episode. This wraps this one up. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.